The alarm systems across Earth's orbital defense network lit up at exactly 0600 hours. Commander Tay sat in the command center, his coffee going cold as he watched the massive object appear on every screen. It was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. The vessel hung at the edge of the solar system like a small moon, its surface covered in lights that pulsed with an alien rhythm. Within minutes, the communication channels exploded with activity. Every major government on Earth wanted answers. Admiral Kong arrived at the command center 15 minutes later, his uniform hastily thrown on, but his eyes sharp and alert. Dr. Yuna followed close behind, carrying 3 tablets and talking rapidly into her headset. The ship began broadcasting. The message came in every human language simultaneously. Ambassador Hana stood next to Tay as they listened to the translated words. A deep voice, artificial but commanding, filled the room. Greetings, inhabitants of the planet you call Earth. We are the Galactic Harmony Council. For 10,000 years, we have maintained peace and order across this region of space. Your species has now been discovered. You will comply with galactic law. This is not a request. Tay felt his jaw tighten. He glanced at Admiral Kong, who was already making notes on a datapad. The message continued, listing demands that made Tay's blood run cold. All human colonies beyond Earth were illegal. Humanity had developed faster-than-light travel without permission. Earth's military fleet was too large for a newly discovered species. The research into artificial intelligence and advanced weapons must stop immediately. The voice gave them 30 days to comply. Council representatives would arrive to oversee the integration process. Earth would surrender command of its defense forces. Human scientists would be assigned council supervisors. Any resistance would be met with appropriate measures. The message ended. The room fell silent except for the hum of computers. Tay looked around at his team. Every face showed the same mixture of shock and anger. They're calling us children, Admiral Kong said quietly. They want us to give up everything we've built. Dr. Yuna was already typing furiously on her tablets. I'm analyzing the transmission data. There's a lot of information buried in the carrier signal. Give me an hour. Tay activated the emergency council link. Within minutes, he was looking at the faces of Earth's leaders on the main screen. The President of the United Earth Government spoke first. Commander Tay, what are we looking at? A threat, Tay replied simply. They're not asking to talk. They're telling us we have no choice. Ambassador Hana stepped forward. Sir, I've studied every first contact protocol we have. This doesn't match any scenario we prepared for. They're treating us like we're their property. The next few hours were chaotic. Earth's leadership demanded more information. Military commanders wanted to know if the alien ship was armed. Scientists wanted to study the technology. Everyone had questions, but nobody had answers. Dr. Yuna called Tay to her lab. He found her staring at 3 screens filled with data. I found something, she said without looking up. The Council has been watching us for over a century. Their ship has been in our system before. Multiple times. What? Tay moved closer to see the data. The transmission contains timestamps and reference codes. I cross-referenced them with unexplained sensor readings we've had over the last 100 years. They've been monitoring Earth since we first developed radio technology. Yuna pulled up another screen. But look at this. They only made contact now. Why wait so long? Admiral Kang entered the lab. I can answer that. We just intercepted some of their internal communications. They're scared. Scared? Tay turned to face him. Of us? Of what we might become. Kong pulled up tactical displays. In the last 50 years, humanity has expanded to 5 star systems. We've developed weapons they don't understand. Our AI technology is decades ahead of what they expected. They thought we'd destroy ourselves. Instead, we unified and got stronger. Tay felt pieces clicking into place. They're not here to welcome us. They're here to control us before we become a threat. Exactly. Kang's expression was grim. And there's more. I have reports coming in from our colonies. Council ships are moving into position around Mars, Europa, and our outer settlements. They're not waiting for our answer. They're preparing to take what they want. Ambassador Hana received a second transmission from the Council ship. This one was different. It was marked as classified information, intended only for Earth's leadership. Tay watched as she read it, her face growing pale. What does it say? He asked. It's a history file. A gift, they call it. Records of other species that joined the Council. She looked up at him. Every single one was given the same choice we just received. Most of them agreed to the terms. The ones that DIDN single quotes T dot dot double quotes, what happened to them? Admiral Kang demanded. They don't exist anymore. The files list them as extinct due to various causes. Plague, war, accidents. But the timing is suspicious. Every species that refused the Council's offer disappeared within 10 years. The room went quiet. Tay walked to the window and looked out at Earth below. Billions of people going about their lives, unaware that everything had just changed. They had families, dreams, and futures. The Council wanted to take all of that and put it under their control. Dr. Yuna spoke up. There's something else. I've been analyzing their technology from the transmission. Their FTL drives are based on completely different principles than ours. Their weapon systems use energy manipulation we barely understand. But here's the interesting part. Their defensive systems are built to counter energy weapons and plasma technology. They're not designed for kinetic weapons or the type of railguns we use. What are you saying? Tay asked. I'm saying they've been fighting the same type of war for thousands of years. They expect everyone to fight like they do. But we developed our technology in isolation. We don't fight like anyone else in their galaxy. Admiral Kang smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. They think they know what humanity is capable of. They have no idea. Tay made his decision. Call an emergency session. All of Earth's leaders, military commanders, and chief scientists. We need to vote on this. He looked at each person in the room. The Council thinks we'll bow to them because we're new to space. They think we'll be grateful for their guidance. They don't understand what it means to be human. 24 hours later, Earth's leadership gathered in the largest secure conference room ever built. Tay presented everything they had learned. He showed them the Council's history. He explained the threat. He laid out the choice with brutal honesty. We can accept their terms and live under their control forever. Our children will never be free. Our technology will be limited. We'll be second-class citizens in a galaxy we could have explored as equals. He paused. Or we can refuse. We can fight. We might lose. We might die. But we'll die free. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not kneel. The message would be sent to the Council in 3 days. But first, Admiral Kang had preparations to make. If the Council wanted a war, humanity would give them one they would never forget. Jin Wu had been working in military intelligence for 12 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The Council's communications were encrypted with technology that should have been impossible to break. Should have been. But humanity had developed quantum computers that operated on principles the Council didn't understand. What took them thousands of years to secure took Jin's team 6 hours to crack. The first files they accessed made everyone in the room stop and stare. Jin called Commander Tay immediately. Sir, you need to see this. All of you need to see this. 2 hours later, Tay stood in the intelligence center with Admiral Kong, Dr. Yuna, and Ambassador Hana. Jin pulled up the files on the main screen. These are the Council's internal records. The real ones, not what they show new species. The first document was a charter. The Galactic Harmony Council had been founded by 5 species who discovered FTL travel first. They called themselves the Founders. For 10,000 years, they had maintained absolute control over the galaxy. Any species that developed space travel was immediately contacted and offered a choice. Join the Council or face isolation. That doesn't sound too bad, Ambassador Hana said carefully. Keep watching, Jin replied. Professor Era entered the room carrying her analysis. She was humanity's leading expert on alien cultures, though until a week ago, that expertise had been purely theoretical. Now she had real data to work with. I've studied 200 first contact events from these files. Every single one follows the same pattern. The Council arrives. They offer membership. The species agrees. Then the restrictions start. She pulled up a timeline on the screen. Look at this species. They were called the Vel, advanced mathematicians and engineers. They joined the Council 3,000 years ago. Within 50 years, their most brilliant scientists were assigned to low-level maintenance work. Their research was deemed too dangerous. Their population was scattered across different worlds, so they could never unite. Today, the Vel still exist, but they build nothing. They create nothing. They serve the Council and nothing more. Dr. Yuna studied the data. They were neutered, deliberately kept from advancing. Yes, and they're not alone. Era pulled up more files. Every species that joins the Council is evaluated and placed in a tie. Our system, the Founders, are Tier 1. Everyone else is Tier 2 or below. No species has ever risen above their initial tier. Ever. Admiral Kong leaned forward. What happens if a species refuses to join? Jin pulled up another set of files. These are the extinction records. 47 species refused the Council over the last 10,000 years. All 47 are now extinct. The official records blame various causes: plague, civil war, cosmic accidents. But look at the timing. Most died within 5 to 10 years of refusing Council membership. The room went cold. Tay felt his hands clench into fists. They eliminate competition. Worse than that, Professor Era said. They prevent competition from ever existing. The Council controls all advanced technology in their territory. They decide who gets weapons, who gets better FTL drives, who gets access to resources. They've created a system where nobody can ever challenge them. Dae Soong, one of humanity's best hackers, entered the room with his laptop. He looked excited and terrified at the same time. I found something big. Really big. He plugged into the main system and pulled up a classified Council file marked with so many security warnings that it took up half the screen. This is from 103 years ago. The Council sent a scout ship to Earth. They were preparing to make first contact. But something made them stop. The file contained observations of Earth during its most violent period. World wars, nuclear weapons, genocide, humanity at its worst. The Council observers had written detailed reports. Tay read them aloud. This species is dangerously aggressive. They wage war on their own kind with extreme prejudice. Their weapons are crude, but effective. Recommendation: quarantine the system and wait for self-destruction. Probability of survival: 8%. They thought we'd kill ourselves, Dr. Yuna said quietly. Yes, so they waited and watched. Dae Soong pulled up more recent files. But we didn't die. We stopped the wars. We unified. We reached for the stars. And that terrified them. Look at this analysis from 20 years ago. The report was marked urgent. It detailed humanity's rapid technological advancement, the development of fusion power, the creation of true artificial intelligence, the first FTL drives, weapon systems that used kinetic energy instead of plasma. The Council analysts were alarmed. Subject species has developed along unprecedented lines. Technology does not match standard development patterns. Military doctrine is chaotic and unpredictable. AI integration exceeds all known safety limits. Recommendation: immediate intervention before species reaches Tier 1 capability. Admiral Kang smiled coldly. We scared them. That's why they're here now. Not to welcome us, but to stop us. Jin pulled up tactical assessments from the Council files. They've been studying our colonies. They know where our shipyards are, where our research stations are, where our weapons platforms are. They have complete intelligence on our fleet strength and positions. Or they think they do, Admiral Kong said. Pull up our actual fleet positions. Jin did. The difference was dramatic. The Council's intelligence was 3 months old. In that time, Admiral Kong had quietly moved a third of humanity's military assets to new positions. Secret shipyards in asteroid fields. Hidden weapons platforms using stealth technology. Whole fleets positioned in places the Council wasn't watching. They think they know us, Kong said. They're wrong. Dr. Yuna was studying the Council's technology files. This is fascinating. Their weapons are incredibly powerful, but they're all based on energy projection. Plasma beams, particle weapons, energy shields. They've been fighting wars the same way for thousands of years. And we fight differently, Tay said, understanding where she was going. Completely differently. Our weapons are kinetic. Railguns that fire solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. Missiles with nuclear warheads. Our shields are electromagnetic, not energy-based. We developed everything in isolation, so we took completely different paths. Yuna pulled up comparison charts. Their shields are designed to deflect energy weapons. But against kinetic weapons, they're almost useless. Professor Era added her analysis. It's not just technology. It's doctrine. The Council fights formal wars, fleet engagements, honorable combat. They have rules about targeting civilians and acceptable weapons. They've fought the same way for so long that they can't imagine anything else. We don't fight that way, Admiral Kong said. Humans learned war the hard way. We learned that survival matters more than honor. We learned asymmetric warfare, guerrilla tactics, total war. We learned that the only rule is winning. Ambassador Hannah looked uncomfortable. You're talking about being ruthless. I'm talking about being human, Kong replied. The Council thinks they're dealing with another species, like all the others, peaceful, civilized, willing to submit to superior force. They don't understand what it means to threaten humanity's survival. Tay walked to the window again. Outside, he could see the lights of the city. Millions of people who didn't know their entire future was being decided right now. He thought about his daughter. She was 5 years old. She loved drawing pictures of spaceships. She wanted to be an explorer when she grew up. The Council would take that dream away from her. They would decide what she could learn, what she could do, where she could go. What's our advantage? He asked. Dr. Yuna answered immediately. Technology they don't understand. Tactics they've never seen. And most importantly, we know everything about them. They think they know us, but their information is wrong. We have surprise on our side. Jin added, and we have something else. The Council has enemies. Species that hate them but are too scared to fight. If we can prove that the Council can be beaten, others might join us. Professor Era nodded. Revolution. Once one species stands up, others will follow. Commander Tay made his decision. Admiral Kong, I need you to prepare the fleet. Not for defense. For war. Dr. Yuna, I need you to develop counters for every Council weapon system. Jin, keep cracking their files. I want to know everything about their military capabilities. Professor Era, analyze their psychology. Find their weaknesses. Ambassador Hana, prepare a message. Not for the Council. For every species under their control. What kind of message? Hannah asked. The truth. About what the Council really is. About what they do to species that trust them. We're going to show the galaxy that the Council's reign is over. We're going to light a fire that they can't put out. Admiral Kong stood. You understand what you're committing us to? If we do this, there's no going back. The Council will try to destroy us. Let them try, Tay replied. They think they've seen everything. They think 10,000 years of power makes them invincible. They're about to learn that humanity didn't survive ice ages, supervolcanoes, and our own worst impulses by giving up. We survived by fighting back. And we're very, very good at it. The message went out exactly 48 hours before the Council's deadline. Commander Tay had spent 2 days writing and rewriting every word. This wasn't just a response to the Council. It was a declaration that would echo across the entire galaxy. Ambassador Hana stood in the broadcast center, watching as Tay took his position in front of the cameras. Behind him, Earth floated in all its blue and green glory. The image would be transmitted to every Council communication channel simultaneously. They would try to block it, but Jin and his team had already cracked their network security. This message would reach every Council world, whether they wanted it or not. Tay began speaking. His voice was calm, controlled, but there was steel underneath every word. To the Galactic Harmony Council and all species under their authority, I am Commander Tay of Earth. You have given humanity 30 days to surrender our freedom. Here is our answer. We refuse. He paused, letting those words sink in across light years of space. For 10,000 years, you have ruled this region of space. You call yourselves the Galactic Harmony Council. You claim to bring peace and order. But we have seen your files. We know the truth. You are not peacekeepers. You are conquerors. You are slavers. You are everything that humanity fought to leave behind. On Earth, people watched on every screen. In the command center, Admiral Kong monitored Council communications. They were going insane, trying to shut down the broadcast. They failed. The message continued. Every species that trusted you was betrayed. You suppress technology. You prevent advancement. You keep civilizations weak so they can never challenge you. You have eliminated 47 species that dared to refuse your control. You think this makes you powerful. It makes you cowards. Across Council space, on worlds where species had served the founders for thousands of years, people stopped and listened. Many had never heard anyone speak to the Council this way. It was forbidden. It was unthinkable. It was thrilling. Humanity will not bow. We will not surrender our colonies. We will not give up our freedom. We will not become another broken species singing songs of glory that died long ago. You want to control us? Come try. You want to threaten us? We were born in threat. We were forged in fire. Every predator on our planet tried to kill us. Ice ages tried to freeze us. Diseases tried to end us. We survived all of it. You are just one more challenge. Dr. Yuna watched the readings from monitoring stations across human space. Council ships were moving. The armada that had been positioning around human colonies was now converging on Earth. Captain Sung Min brought the indomitable out of hiding behind Mars's moon. His ship was alone against 40 Council vessels. It should have been suicide. Instead, it was an ambush. He fired every weapon the ship had, destroyed 3 Council ships, and jumped away before they could return fire. The whole engagement lasted 90 seconds. The Council commander sent ships to pursue. They followed the Indomitable's jump signature into an asteroid field. Human ships had been hiding there for weeks. The Council ships flew into a kill zone. Railgun fire from a dozen hidden positions tore them apart. Only 2 ships escaped. This became the pattern. The Council would attack a target. Human forces would hit back and disappear. The massive subjugation fleet was too big to chase small strike forces, but too spread out to protect itself. Every day brought more losses. Ships destroyed. Supply convoys ambushed. Communication relays eliminated. Wrath was furious. This wasn't how wars were supposed to be fought. Where were the fleet battles? Where was the honor? These humans fought like insects, stinging and running away. It was beneath contempt. It was also effective. On Europa, Jay coordinated the colony's defense from a command bunker buried under a kilometer of ice. He watched Council ships land troops on the surface. The soldiers marched toward the colony's main dome in perfect formation. They never reached it. The ice around them had been rigged with explosives. When Jay gave the signal, the ground beneath the Council forces simply disappeared. Hundreds of soldiers fell into crevasses that hadn't existed moments before. The survivors retreated to their ships, only to find them under attack from human strike teams that had been waiting for exactly this moment. Dr. Yuna worked 20 hours a day in a hidden research facility. Her team had captured Council weapons and were reverse engineering them. But more importantly, they were improving humanity's own technology. New shields, faster engines, weapons that hit harder. We're learning from every engagement, she explained to Commander Tay during a briefing. The Council's technology is more advanced in some ways, but it's old. They haven't had to innovate in centuries. We're adapting every day. Na Young, one of Yuna's brightest researchers, made a breakthrough. Their FTL communication uses quantum entanglement, but the encryption is standardized. I can break it, which means we can listen to everything they say. Better yet, I can inject false information. Admiral Kong smiled when he heard that. Give them coordinates for a major human shipyard, somewhere completely empty. Let's see how many ships we can lure into a trap. The Council took the bait. Wrath sent 200 ships to destroy what he thought was humanity's main construction facility. They jumped into a system that contained nothing but a few automated platforms. And mines. Thousands of mines, each one accelerated to high speed and aimed at the exact coordinates where the Council ships would appear. The fleet jumped in and flew directly into a wall of explosives. 73 ships destroyed in the first minute. The survivors scattered in panic, only to find human strike forces waiting to pick them off. Wrath realized he was losing. His massive fleet was being bled dry by an enemy he couldn't catch. Every Council offensive met with temporary resistance followed by retreat. Human forces never stood and fought. They hit and ran. They ambushed. They used traps and tricks and tactics that no civilized species would employ. They fight with no honor, he told his officers. Like animals. But the Council was learning to be afraid. Human weapons were too effective. Human tactics too unpredictable. Worse, other species were watching. If the mighty Council couldn't defeat one new species, what did that say about Council power? 3 species in Council space began open rebellions. They saw humanity standing against the Council and decided they could do the same. The Velt Confederation wasn't alone anymore. The Council was now fighting wars on 4 fronts. Commander Rena took her special forces deep into Council territory. Her mission was simple but dangerous. Hit their supply lines. Destroy their shipyards. Make them afraid to operate in their own space. They struck a fuel depot 3 systems behind Council lines. The depot was lightly defended, never expecting an attack this deep in their territory. Human commandos planted charges and were gone before anyone realized they were there. The depot exploded with enough force to be seen from orbit. A week later, they hit a construction facility. Council workers fled in panic as human soldiers moved through the shipyard, destroying everything that could build or repair warships. By the time Council reinforcements arrived, the humans were gone and the facility was in ruins. "This is impossible," one Council officer said, staring at the wreckage. "How did they get past our defenses?" The answer was simple. Human stealth technology was decades ahead of Council sensors. Ships that couldn't be seen. Soldiers who moved like ghosts. The Council was hunting an enemy they couldn't find. Back in human space, Admiral Kang received reports from all fronts. The numbers looked better than expected. The Council had lost over 500 ships. Their supply lines were in chaos. Their subject species were in rebellion. But humanity had paid a price too. Colonies destroyed. Ships lost. Thousands dead. How long can we keep this up? Commander Tay asked during a strategy meeting. "As long as we need to," Kang replied. "But we can't just defend forever. The Council has resources we can't match. Eventually, they'll overwhelm us through sheer numbers." Dr. Yuna spoke up. "Unless we strike at the heart, cut off the head and the body dies. You want to attack the Council homeworld?" Ambassador Hannah looked shocked. "That's insane." "It's exactly the kind of insane that might work," Kang said thoughtfully. "They would never expect it. Their entire fleet is here trying to conquer us. Their home territory is defended, but not heavily. If we could capture their leadership, force a surrender." Jin pulled up intelligence data. Representative Core sent us detailed maps of their capital system. He also sent information about something called the Void Engine. It's a weapon the Council built centuries ago. They used it once and accidentally destroyed an entire star system. They swore never to use it again. "Let me guess," Tay said. "They're going to use it on us. The intelligence says they're preparing it now. They're desperate. If they can't defeat us conventionally, they'll erase Earth and all our colonies in one strike. We have maybe 3 weeks before it's ready." The room went silent. A weapon that could destroy star systems. There was no defense against that. Humanity could win every battle and still lose everything. "Then we don't have a choice," Commander Tay said. "We strike first. We take the fight to them. We end this war before they can end us." Admiral Kang nodded. "I'll need every ship we can spare, and help from our new allies." "You'll have it," Tay promised. "Get me a plan. We're going to do something no species has ever done. We're going to attack the Council in their own home. And we're going to win." The fleet that gathered at the edge of known space was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in 10,000 years. Human warships flew alongside vessels from 7 rebel species. The Velt brought their advanced sensors. The Kree offered their knowledge of Council defenses. The Tau contributed ships that could generate disruption fields. Together, they formed a force that had one purpose: end the Council's reign. Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the fleet display. 400 ships total, against the Council's home defense fleet of nearly 1,000. The odds were still against them, but they had advantages: surprise, desperation, and human tactics that the Council still didn't understand. "We jump in 60 seconds, Captain Soong Min announced. "All ships have confirmed coordinates. We're really doing this." Commander Tay was aboard the flagship, having insisted on coming despite the risks. If we succeed, this ends the war. If we fail, we die free. Either way, it's better than living under their rule. The fleet jumped. Space twisted, and they emerged in the Council's home system. Alarms immediately blared on Council defense stations. An enemy fleet had just appeared in their most protected space. It was unthinkable. It was happening. The Council defense fleet scrambled to respond. Ships that had been on routine patrol suddenly found themselves in a desperate battle. The orbital defenses around the Council homeworld came online, massive weapons platforms that could devastate entire fleets. Split formation, Admiral Kang ordered. Execute Plan Chaos. The human fleet didn't attack as a unified force. Instead, it broke into 50 small groups, each one targeting different objectives. The Council defenders tried to respond, but couldn't coordinate against so many separate threats. Their communications were being jammed by Velt technology. Their sensors were being confused by Tal disruption fields. And human ships were moving in patterns that made no tactical sense. Captain Su Min took a strike force directly at the orbital defenses. The platforms opened fire with weapons that could crack moons. Su Min's ships dodged and weaved, using thrust patterns that seemed random, but were actually carefully calculated chaos. Half the enemy fire missed completely. The other half was absorbed by shields designed to handle exactly this kind of assault. The human ships returned fire. Railguns spoke, and orbital platforms began exploding. Each platform destroyed created debris. 300 warships. It was the largest fleet the Council had assembled in centuries. Tay continued his message. To the species under Council control, we offer you truth. You are not inferior. You are not weak. You are prisoners. The Council has convinced you that their protection is necessary. It is not. They have convinced you that advancement is dangerous. It is not. They have taken your potential and locked it away. We are here to tell you that the locks can be broken. On the Council homeworld, the founders watched in fury and growing fear. This was unprecedented. No species had ever dared to transmit such a message. They had to make an example of humanity. They had to show the galaxy what happened to those who defied the Council. The orders went out. The Armada would demonstrate their power. Earth would be occupied. Human leadership would be arrested. The military would be dismantled. If there was resistance, cities would burn. Your deadline is meaningless, Tay said, his voice harder now. Your threats are empty. Your power is built on lies and the blood of those who trusted you. That ends now. Humanity stands free. We invite any species that wants freedom to stand with us. Together, we can build something better than your empire of fear. We can build something worth fighting for. The message ended with coordinates. Not to Earth, but to secure channels where other species could contact humanity without Council surveillance. Tay knew it was a long shot. Most species were too scared to act. But it only took one. One species with the courage to say no. One species willing to risk everything for freedom. The broadcast ended. In the command center, alarms immediately started blaring. The Council Armada was accelerating toward Earth. They would arrive in 6 hours. 300 ships carrying invasion forces and weapons, powerful enough to crack continents. Admiral Kong activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Kong. Execute Plan Ghost. Across human space, the response was immediate. Every ship in Earth's defense fleet activated their stealth systems. Advanced electromagnetic camouflage that made them invisible to Council sensors. The technology was new, developed in secret over the last 5 years. The Council didn't know it existed. On their scanners, it looked like Earth's entire military fleet simply vanished. The 300 Council ships arrived in Earth's orbit to find no opposition, no fleet, No defense platforms. Nothing. Just a blue planet hanging in space. Seemingly defenseless, the Council Admiral sent a message demanding humanity's immediate surrender. When no response came, he gave the order to fire on Earth's orbital stations. A warning shot designed to show Earth's population what would happen if they continued to resist. Plasma beams lanced down from orbit. They struck the orbital defense stations and dissolved into nothing. The shields held easily. The Council Admiral stared at his screens in confusion. That should have destroyed those stations. What kind of shields were these? Again, he ordered. Full power. 3 ships opened fire simultaneously. Energy weapons that could vaporize mountains struck the orbital stations. The shields flickered with light but held firm. Human shields didn't work like Council shields. They were based on electromagnetic fields and energy dispersion, designed to counter kinetic weapons primarily, but they handled energy weapons through completely different principles. The Council's weapons, designed to overcome Council shields, were almost useless. Admiral Kong smiled in the command center. Now, from hidden positions throughout the solar system, human ships decloaked. They had been waiting in the shadows of asteroids, behind moons, in the darkness between orbits. Not the entire fleet, just 20 ships. But 20 ships with weapons the Council had never seen. Captain Sung Min commanded the flagship Indomitable. He had been waiting for this moment. All batteries fire. Railguns spoke. Not energy weapons that announced themselves with bright beams, but solid projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. Silent, invisible on most scanners, devastating. The Council ships were clustered together in perfect formation, beautiful, orderly, incredibly vulnerable. The railgun slugs tore through them like paper. Their shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, offered almost no protection against kinetic impacts, traveling at relativistic speeds. In the first 30 seconds. 12 Council ships were destroyed or disabled. The perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Council captains frantically tried to understand what was happening. Their sensors couldn't track the projectiles. Their shields weren't stopping them. Ships were dying, and they didn't even know what was killing them. Captain Sung Min targeted the Council flagship. Load penetrator rounds. Target their command center. Special ammunition designed for maximum penetration struck the massive Council ship. The projectiles punched through the hull in 17 places before detonating inside the ship. The flagship systems went dark. Life support failed. The Council Admiral barely had time to order evacuation before his ship began breaking apart. The remaining Council ships tried to return fire. Their plasma beams and particle weapons lit up space with brilliant colors. They hit nothing. Human ships were too fast, too maneuverable, using thrust systems that didn't match Council expectations. They danced through the fire like ghosts. From Mars, Europa, and the outer colonies, more human ships appeared. The Council had been watching those locations, expecting the defense fleets to be stationed there. They were wrong. The fleets had moved weeks ago. What the Council found instead were automated defense platforms using the same advanced weapons as the ships. In 40 minutes. It was over. 47 Council ships destroyed. Another 35 disabled. The rest were retreating in disorder, jumping to FTL as fast as their drives could charge. The Council's carefully planned assault had turned into a massacre. On Earth, people watched the battle on every screen. When the last Council ship jumped away, cities erupted in celebration. Humanity had faced the Council's might and won, but in the command center, nobody was celebrating. Commander Tay and Admiral Kong both knew this was just the beginning. The Council had sent 300 ships. They had thousands more. This victory would enrage them. They would come back with everything they had. "Sir," Jin called out. We're receiving a message. Not from the Council. From someone else. On the screen appeared a face unlike any human had ever seen. The alien's features were hard to read, but they could understand the words that followed. I am Representative Core of the Velt Confederation. We saw your message. We saw your victory. The Council has oppressed our people for 2,000 years. We can offer you intelligence on their fleet movements and military capabilities. In return, we ask only that, when you win, you remember us. Ambassador Hannah looked at Commander Tay. Sir? Tay smiled. Welcome to the Alliance, Representative Core. Send us everything you have. The Council wanted to rule the galaxy through fear. Let's show them what happens when that fear breaks. Far away, on the Council homeworld, the Founders convened an emergency session. For the first time in 10,000 years, they faced a species that could fight back. They faced a species that had just humiliated them in front of the entire galaxy. They faced a species that was calling others to rebellion. They made their decision. The subjugation fleet would be deployed. 2,000 ships led by their most ruthless commander. They had used this fleet to crush 7 rebellions throughout history. It had never failed. Humanity would be erased from the galaxy. No mercy, no prisoners. Total annihilation. The Council's answer was on its way. The subjugation fleet arrived like a storm made of metal and fire. 2,000 warships dropped out of FTL at the edge of human space. Each ship was massive, carrying weapons that could burn worlds. At the center of the fleet flew the Hammer of Harmony, a dreadnought so large it had its own gravity. Its commander was called Wrath, and he had broken 7 species for the Council. Admiral Kong watched the fleet approach on his displays. The numbers were overwhelming. Even with humanity's technological advantages, this was too many ships. A straight fight would be suicide. Execute Protocol Scorch, he ordered. Across human space, the evacuation had been planned for weeks. Colonists left their homes carrying only what they could pack. Massive transport ships moved millions of people to hidden bases deep in asteroid fields and on moons without atmosphere. Ships that couldn't fight were sent through secret jump points to systems the Council didn't know about. What humanity left behind were traps, automated defense platforms, hidden mines, false signals, and colonies rigged to destroy themselves rather than fall to the Council. Commander Rena led Earth's Special Forces. She stood on the bridge of a stealth corvette, watching the Council fleet spread out to attack human colonies. They're splitting up. Good. Now they're vulnerable. Her team consisted of 50 ships, each one small and fast. They carried no heavy weapons. Instead, they carried commandos trained in every form of warfare humanity had ever invented. They had studied the Council's tactics from captured files. They knew how Council ships operated. They knew the weaknesses. The first Council battle group arrived at Mars. They expected resistance. Instead, they found an empty colony and defense platforms that opened fire the moment they entered range. The platforms were destroyed quickly, but not before sending targeting data to hidden human ships. That complicated the Council's defensive fire. Within 20 minutes, the orbital defenses were in ruins. Commander Rena led Marines on a desperate boarding mission. Her ships latched onto the Council's central station, the massive structure where the Founders themselves resided. Breaching charges blew holes in the hull. Human soldiers poured through, meeting Council guards in brutal close combat. The guards were trained, professional, prepared for standard tactics. They weren't prepared for humans. Rena's team moved with aggression that shocked the defenders. They used weapons in ways that violated every rule of civilized warfare. Flashbangs, shotguns loaded with armor-piercing rounds, grenades in enclosed spaces. The guards fell back in confusion and fear. Their animals One council officer screamed into his communicator before a human soldier stunned him. Rena reached the command center in 40 minutes. The doors were sealed with technology that should have taken hours to breach. Her team used shaped charges and blew the doors off. Inside, the 5 founders sat in their council chamber, surrounded by guards. "Surrender," Rena said simply, her weapon aimed at the nearest founder. "You dare?" The founder hissed. "We are the council. We have ruled for 10,000 years. You are nothing but upstart primitives." "We're the primitives who are winning," Rena replied. "Your fleet is falling. Your station is ours. You have 2 choices. Surrender, or we leave you here when we blow this station apart." Outside, the battle raged. Human ships were taking losses, but they were giving worse than they got. The Council Defense Fleet fought with the courage of desperation, but courage wasn't enough. Human weapons were too effective. Human tactics too unpredictable. Dr. Yuna and Na Young worked in a captured council facility on the edge of the system. They had found the Void Engine. The weapon was massive, a construct of exotic matter and technology that bent the laws of physics. It was charging, gathering power to unleash destruction across light years of space. "Can we stop it?" Na Young asked. "Stop it? No. Redirect it? Maybe." Yuna studied the controls. The technology was so advanced, it seemed like magic, but the principles were understandable. Energy had to go somewhere. If we reverse the containment field, the weapon will collapse on itself. That could destroy this entire facility. US with it. Then we better be fast. Yuna's hands moved across the alien controls. She had minutes at most. The weapon was nearly at full charge. Just a little more time, and it would fire, erasing Earth and every human colony in a wave of destruction that would rewrite reality itself. Back on the council station, the founders were refusing to surrender. "You cannot win," the eldest said. "Even if you kill us, the council will endure. Other species will take our place. The order we created will survive." Commander Tay stepped forward. He had been listening from behind Rena's team. "That's where you're wrong. We're not here to replace you. We're here to end you. Not just your lives, your entire system. The galaxy doesn't need rulers. It needs partners, equals. Impossible. Species need guidance, control. Without the council, there will be chaos." "Maybe," Tay agreed. "But it will be our chaos. Our choice. You took that away from everyone. You kept entire civilizations as children, never letting them grow up. That ends today." An explosion rocked the station. Dr. Yuna's voice came over the communicator, breaking up with static. "The Void Engine is collapsing. We reversed the containment. It's going to implode in 2 minutes. Anyone near this facility needs to jump out now." "Did you get clear?" Tay demanded. "Working on it. The facility is falling apart. We're heading for the escape pods." The communication cut out. "All ships retreat to jump coordinates," Admiral Kong ordered. "We have 2 minutes." The human fleet began pulling back. Council ships that were still functional tried to pursue, but their formation was broken. Their command structure was shattered. They had fought bravely, but they had lost. Rena looked at the founders. "You're coming with us. You're going to stand trial. Not by your own laws, but by the laws of every species you've oppressed." "We will not," the eldest founder said. Several guards moved to protect their leaders. Rena's team raised their weapons. For a moment, it looked like there would be a final, pointless battle. Then one of the younger founders stepped forward. "Enough. We have lost. Continuing to fight serves no purpose." She looked at Rena. "We will come. But know this, human. You have no idea what you've unleashed." The council maintained order. Without us, this galaxy will tear itself apart. We'll take that chance, Rena replied. The fleet jumped just as the void engine collapsed. The implosion created a singularity that swallowed the entire facility and several nearby asteroids before winking out of existence. Dr. Yuna and Na Young barely made it to an escape pod in time. Their pod was picked up by a human ship minutes later. News of the Council's fall spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. On 1,000 worlds, species that had been subjugated for centuries rose up. Some sought revenge. Some sought independence. Some simply wanted to live without fear. The galaxy was changing, and there was no going back. 1 year later, Commander Tay stood in a new building on Earth, the Galactic Federation Assembly. 50 species had sent representatives. The chamber was designed so every delegation had equal seating. No one above anyone else. No tiers. No rulers. Ambassador Hana gave the opening address. We are not here to create a new council. We are here to create something better. A federation of equals. Each species sovereign in their own space. Working together not because we must, but because we choose to. We will share technology, share knowledge, share resources. And when threats arise, we will face them together. The representatives voted. The Galactic Federation was established. Its founding principle was simple. No species shall rule over another. The charter was signed by all 50 representatives. The founders stood trial on neutral ground. The prosecution brought evidence of 10,000 years of oppression, the destruction of species that refused to comply, the deliberate suppression of technological advancement, the systematic elimination of any potential rivals. They were found guilty, but instead of execution, they were sentenced to exile on a remote world, under guard but alive. As Commander Tay said, we don't become better by copying their methods. They killed those who opposed them. We show mercy. That's the difference between us and them. Admiral Kong retired from active service. His final report to Earth's government was simple. We won not because we were stronger, but because we refused to accept that might makes right. The Council had more ships, more weapons, more resources. But they had forgotten what it means to fight for something worth dying for. We remembered. That made all the difference. Dr. Yuna led a new initiative to share human technology with other species. Not in exchange for control, but freely given. Faster FTL drives. Better shields. Medical advances. Dozens of species that had stagnated under Council rule suddenly began advancing again. Progress that had been frozen for thousands of years started moving. Captain Sung Min took the Indomitable on the first exploratory mission beyond Council space. They were looking for species that had never been contacted, wanting to meet them as friends rather than conquerors. The galaxy was vast, and humanity wanted to explore it all. Commander Rena trained soldiers from other species in human tactics, not to create armies of conquest, but to ensure that if any new threat emerged, the galaxy could defend itself. She ended each training session with the same words: fight smart, fight hard, but always remember what you're fighting for. 3 years after the Council's fall, Tay received a message from deep space, a species that had been watching from afar, observing the war and its aftermath. Their words were simple but profound. We have monitored your species since you first left your world. We expected another conqueror. Instead, we found liberators. When you reach our space, you will be welcomed. Not with fear, but with friendship. You have shown the galaxy a better path. We wish to walk it with you. Tay read the message to Earth's leadership. This is what we fought for. Not to replace the Council's empire with our own, but to create a galaxy where every species has the freedom to choose their own future. Where technology is shared, not hoarded. Where might is used to protect, not oppress. where every civilization can reach for the stars without asking permission from those who got there first. On Earth, in cities across the planet, monuments were built to those who died in the war. The inscriptions varied, but they all carried the same message. They tried to chain humanity. They learned that humans bow to no one. In the Federation Assembly, representatives from 100 species now gathered. They debated. They disagreed. They argued about resources and territories and 1,000 other issues. But they did it as equals. No one species controlled the others. No one dictated terms. The galaxy was free, and it would stay that way. Commander Tay looked out at Earth from the assembly building. His daughter was 12 now. She still wanted to be an explorer. And now she could be. The Council had tried to take the future away from humanity. Instead, humanity had given the future back to the entire galaxy. The stars were calling. And for the first time in 10,000 years, everyone was free to answer.